Calaroga Shark Media.
Welcome back to another edition of Ballot, your weekly dose of politics minus the politics. And boy, do we have a jam-packed show for you today. First up, Bill Maher is calling out Democrats for their obsession with identity politics. He says it's time for them to move on and focus on issues that actually matter to voters. Groundbreaking stuff, I know. Next, we'll dive into Instagram's new no politics policy. That's right, the app that's responsible for countless heated debates in the comments section is now saying thanks, but no thanks to unsolicited political content. It's like they finally realized that no one's mind has ever been changed by an all-caps rant on social media. And finally, we'll take a look at the Biden campaign's secret weapon, an app that turns volunteers into digital door knockers. They're hoping it'll help them connect with hard-to-reach voters, but let's be real. The only thing harder to reach than a swing voter is a teenager when it's time to do the dishes. So grab your favorite politically neutral beverage, settle in, and let's dive into the wild world of politics. Donald Trump's lawyers asked the Supreme Court to rule that he has absolute immunity from criminal charges stemming from his attempts to subvert the 2020 election. Jimmy Kimmel joked that Trump also wants immunity from chlamydia, just in case. His lawyers told the court denial of criminal immunity would incapacitate every future president with de facto blackmail and extortion while in office and condemn him to years of post-office trauma at the hands of political opponents. Which sounds bad, right? And yet somehow we've had 44 presidents before him. That never happened to any of them except for this one guy. A president could make some seriously crazy stuff happen. If you're dumb and arrogant, you commit the crimes yourself on television, then you have a problem. Then you have to beg the Supreme Court for something preposterous, like immunity. Turns out the guy who bragged to Billy Bush he can do whatever he wants thinks he should be allowed to do whatever he wants. Trump is said to be considering a new hire, Paul Manafort, one of his former campaign advisors who went to prison for tax and bank fraud and was pardoned by Trump in 2020. Jimmy Fallon joked, "I think it's actually a good idea. Trump needs an advisor like Paul Manafort to tell him not to hire guys like Paul Manafort." Bill Maher, the guy who makes a living roasting both sides, just served the Democrats a big, steaming plate of hard truths. Apparently, it's time for them to move on from identity politics because, shocker, it's not working. Maher pointed out how the Dems are losing minority voters faster than Rudy Giuliani's hair dye running down his face. I mean, when Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi threw on some kente cloth, I don't think a single voter was like, "Damn, those two must have some powerful ties to Ghana. They've got my vote." Maher dropped some truth bombs, quoting black celebs like Idris Elba and Morgan Freeman, who basically said, "Can we stop obsessing over race? I mean, when the guy who played God is telling you to chill on the identity stuff, maybe listen?" Maher said, "We're all jelly roll now. We're sloppy, complicated, and contradictory. 2/3 of Republican voters support weed legalization, and 41% of Democrats own or live with someone who owns a gun. Miss Marvel is Pakistani, and the winner of the last 2 NBA dunk contests is white. The new Captain America is black, and Spider-Man is black and Puerto Rican, just like AI George Washington. Latinos make up half of the Border Patrol, and the name of the coolest black dude on the planet is Lenny Kravitz. RuPaul has a ranch in Wyoming that does fracking. Somehow the leader of the Village People was straight. The leader of the Proud Boys isn't an old white guy. It's Enrique Tarrio, an Afro-Cuban. Caitlyn Jenner is a pro-Trump trans woman who supports a ban on trans athletes competing in women's sports. Our black president was half white, and our black vice president is half Asian." My point is, look, you're still building your politics around slicing and dicing people into these fixed categories. Democrats need to get the memo that you can't win elections anymore by automatically assuming you're going to get every voter who's not these guys, Maher said, while showing a photo of white men in suits from the 1950s. The more you obsess over identity, the more you ignore the bread and butter issues that win and lose elections. The real issue is class, not race. And the real gap is the diploma divide. And the real future of the party, and maybe democracy, depends on Democrats figuring that out. Well, folks, looks like Instagram is putting the kibosh on unsolicited political content. Yep, The app that's known for perfectly curated brunch pics and thirst traps is now saying hard pass to proactively pushing politics. If you're the type who loves a good political throwdown in the comments section, don't worry, you can still get your fix. But you'll have to put in a little effort. Head over to your settings, navigate to the content preferences section, and flip the switch on political content. It's like telling Instagram, bring on the heated debates and questionable memes, baby. Instagram's head honcho, Adam Mosseri, claims this move is all about preserving the ability for people to choose to interact with political content. Translation: they're tired of getting blamed for your uncle's unhinged rants about the government putting microchips in the vaccines. Meta spokesperson Danny Lever wants to make it crystal clear that this change does not impact posts from accounts people choose to follow. So if you're actively seeking out political hot takes, knock yourself out. But for the rest of us, just trying to scroll in peace, Instagram's got our backs. At the end of the day, Instagram's new approach to political content is like putting a no soliciting sign on your front door. Sure, the passionate canvassers can still ring your bell, but only if you've given them the green light. As for everyone else, it's nothing but puppies, sunsets, and influencers hawking teeth whitening kits from here on out. Biden's campaign is getting creative in their quest to connect with hard-to-reach voters. They're testing out a smartphone app called Reach, which is like a matchmaker for your contacts and the Democratic Party's voter database. It's a bit like setting up your friends on a blind date with Joe Biden. Here's how it works. Volunteers download the app, give it access to their address books, and voila! The app matches up their contacts with the party's info on voting history. Then, the app feeds the volunteers a steady diet of pro-Biden content that they can personalize and text directly to their unsuspecting friends. Of course, there's always the risk of creating an echo chamber. Picture a room full of hardcore volunteers sending each other the same message back and forth like a game of political ping pong. But the Biden campaign is all in on this new approach. They say people are tuned out and trust in institutions is about as low as Rudy Giuliani's credibility. So the key is to get friends and family to do the talking. It's like a political version of a multi-level marketing scheme. But instead of selling essential oils, they're peddling hope and change. Only time will tell if this app will be the secret weapon that helps Biden secure the White House, or if it'll go down in history as the political equivalent of the Yo app. But one thing's for sure. In the age of information overload and political burnout, campaigns have to get creative if they want to break through the noise. Well, folks, that's all the political shenanigans we have time for today. To recap, Bill Maher thinks Democrats need to ditch the identity politics, Instagram is putting politics in timeout, and the Biden campaign is using an app to slide into voters' DMs. But the real question is, will any of this actually make a difference come November? Will voters be swayed by a slick app, or will they just keep doom scrolling past the political posts in search of cat videos? Only time will tell. One thing's for sure, though. No matter how much we try to avoid it, politics has a way of worming its way into every aspect of our lives. It's like that annoying song that gets stuck in your head, except instead of humming along, you're arguing with your relatives at Thanksgiving dinner. But hey, that's why we're here. To help you navigate the crazy world of politics with a smile on your face and a spring in your step. So until next week, remember, when life gives you political lemons, make lemonade. And then spike it with something strong. Thanks for tuning in to Ballot, your favorite source for political news with a side of snark. Always vote with your heart. And maybe a little bit with your funny bone too.